Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to again welcome you to the IMARC conference. I begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet and also acknowledging the important work that our industry does right across New South Wales, engaging with local Aboriginal communities. This is the third time I've had the privilege as Minister to welcome you, and we continue to see the conference grow, attracting more visitors, fostering more investment and creating more opportunities. We meet at a particularly exciting time for our industry. The news overnight of the historic investment and financial agreement signed by the Prime Minister and the US President highlights the opportunities in New South Wales which are on display this week at IMARC. The outcome underscores the priority status of critical minerals on the global stage. The message is clear: identify key projects quickly, remove impediments for their development, and build and secure reliable supply chains here in Australia. It's yet another example of the global focus on critical minerals that are crucial for advanced technology, including renewable energy, defence and medical innovation, not to mention the mini-computers that we all have in our pockets. It means the future of mining is bright in New South Wales. Now, we welcome my colleague, the Premier. We also welcome our Federal Assistant Minister, Anthony Chisholm, as our Federal Minister, and long-time supporter of IMARC, Madeleine King, is currently in Washington with our Prime Minister. Now, as those in this room know, global demand is expected to grow by 4 to 6 times by 2040. And here in New South Wales, we are well positioned to be a key ESG credentialed supplier of that growth, with 21 out of 31 of our nationally identified critical minerals. And that's not mentioning our significant gold reserves, which with the record gold price continue to attract interest from global companies and local investors alike. Our Minns Labor government's approach is to foster a stable investment environment here in New South Wales. We understand the competition to attract global capital is fierce. That's why we've sought to partner with industry, listening carefully to their feedback and establishing the foundations that support long-term investment. Last year, I released our critical minerals and high-tech metals strategy after months of consultation and work. In 3 key ways, it shows how we're putting this approach into practice. To encourage exploration, particularly from junior explorers, we're working with the Australian Government to release more data through our geological survey, which incidentally celebrates 150 years this year. To further partner with junior explorers to develop their projects, we're co-funding $2.5 million through our critical minerals and high-tech grants. 21 of those 29 projects I announced yesterday are for copper. And in Australian first, applications are now open for our $250 million royalties deferral scheme to give projects valuable cash flow as they attract further investment to make those jobs a reality. Here in New South Wales, we are incredibly fortunate to have a Premier who understands the pivotal role mining plays in supporting local jobs and communities, and he's shown he's prepared to fight for it. He's well known for his practical and common sense approach and the courage to take on the big challenges, an approach I can assure you is the same behind closed doors as it is in public. He and I have met personally with key projects and companies, and he's already demonstrated the determination to make sensible changes as required. Please join me in welcoming my good friend, the Premier of New South Wales, the Honourable Chris Minns.
Thanks so much, Courtney, for that generous introduction. And can I acknowledge you as well as Anthony Chisholm, Minister Chisholm, and I would have acknowledged Madeleine King, but obviously the Australian government's in the midst of signing, as Courtney said, a historic and important critical minerals agreement with the United States today. So we'll give her a leave pass, but that's an important one for the country and for the state. And can I acknowledge that we're on the land of the Gadigal people? And I want to say on behalf of New South Wales, we want to welcome you to Sydney this week, and in particular all of the 10,000 delegates for one of the most important mining conferences anywhere in the world. I wanted to be here this morning because for all of the economic change, mining and resources are still New South Wales' biggest export industry. You're a massive part of our economy, a huge employer, and a huge part of our tax base in the state. And with that in mind, I want to begin the conference by, I think, addressing a popular misconception that's built up around this industry. It's shared by a lot of people who are involved in politics, and that is that the mining industry is one of the past and not of the future. And the theory goes something like this, that we needed mining to power the Industrial Revolution, we needed it during the great industrial age of the 20th century, but in 2025 we've reached the digital age, a post-material age, and we can leave all that behind. This is a view that's commonly shared, particularly amongst the next generation of young Australians and those around the world. Now, I don't need to tell you this, but I will say it as the Premier of New South Wales, that view is categorically untrue. Without mining, it wouldn't be possible to live the kind of modern, prosperous, technologically advanced lives we rightly expect in the 21st century. Take the defining technology of this generation, which, for better or worse, is the smartphone. We talk about cloud technology, but if these things are powered, as if these things are powered by the heavens, but every smart screen is lit up by rare earths, almost like a magical material dug out of the ground. Or consider the electric car, crucial to our global climate strategy. The old school internal combustion engine needed copper and manganese to run. An electric car uses both those minerals, but also lithium and nickel, cobalt and graphite. So we want to get these carbon-intensive, fossil fuels intensive cars off our roads. We don't have a choice. We need to mine these minerals. And friends, it doesn't stop there. Solar panels, wind turbines, battery storage. Every pillar of our climate policy here in New South Wales rests on mining and critical minerals to drive that revolution, to drive that change. We're used to this idea in the culture that there's an unavoidable conflict between mining and the environment. And I'm not suggesting that that argument's been raised in bad faith, but people are usually coming from a good place when they make it. They want to protect nature, they want to do something about climate change. But there's a paradox here, and it's one we need to confront in a modern economy. Without mining, we can't transition our energy system, we can't expand renewable power, we can't drive the economy of the future. And yet we have to do it in the most efficient, professional and sensitive way. Friends, that puts us in a really strong position here in New South Wales. Not only do we have that history and experience in serious, large-scale, globally competitive mining, we've been doing this for over 200 years since the first boatload of coal left for India in the 18th century. Not only do we have experienced companies, the trained workforce, the stable democracy, the rule of law, we've also got the critical minerals sitting there to make a big difference. 21 of 31 on the critical minerals list, 4 out of 5 on the strategic minerals list. Significant deposits on rare earths, scandium, copper, silver and cobalt. They call us the lucky country, and sometimes it's said in a derogatory way or an insulting way, but with mining, you've got to have some luck. You can't invent geology, but if you've got it, you've got to make the most of it. And one of the reasons we were so keen to host IMARC this week is to make that pitch, almost a sales pitch to all of you. New South Wales is absolutely open for business. Right now, we've got critical minerals and high-tech metal projects that are ready to go in this state. They've completed their exploration and they're planning approval and they're waiting for investment to start production. At ASM's Dubbo project, they're ready to mine rare earths critical to the high-tech magnets in electric cars, batteries and, of course, wind turbines. Near Nyngan, they're ready to mine scandium, important to boost efficiency in fuel cells and power the transition to clean energy sources. And if we can get that capital on board, that investment, these projects will bring billions of dollars to New South Wales and make a major difference to the global economy. And this is where we want your help, and we'd love your support. We'd love to see more exploration, more productive mines, more capital coming into New South Wales to create more jobs, particularly in our regional communities. I know that the federal government has a range of incentives in place, particularly for critical minerals. But at the state level, we've also introduced a royalty deferral program to reduce the initial costs associated with getting our mine up and running. We're actively partnering with companies to explore new reserves to help with drilling and geology. And for those projects that have already found their deposit, we're looking at ways we can improve the planning system in New South Wales to get quicker approvals and quicker productive mines. I want to be absolutely upfront here. The planning system has been letting us down badly in New South Wales, and we've found that across the board on residential housing, commercial construction, industrial development, but particularly for mining and resources. It's been frustrating how often the system is looking for excuses to say no rather than ways of saying yes and bringing on that investment. As a government, myself, the Minister for Planning, have spent an enormous amount of time looking for ways to change this culture in our system. And I can promise you today we're applying the same philosophies for critical minerals and critical resources projects. We anticipate a major and important piece of legislation will pass our upper house this week, which will make a huge difference to the planning system when it comes to mineral exploration and the confidence that finances and capital need when investing in Australia. We don't want to be the Wild West, like we've seen obviously in some jurisdictions through history, but we need to be ruthless in getting rid of any duplication that's crept into the system. At the end of the day, there's a lot of capital on the line here, and we can't ask you to organise your finance, to bowl up proposals and then for it to sit in purgatory for years and years on end without a definitive answer and without these projects rolling. And I know we're committed to working with the Minerals Council here in New South Wales, and in particular our friend Stephen Galilee, about progressing some of those really important projects for our state. We want to get these projects off the ground because the truth is that we need you. You employ tens of thousands of people. In fact, coal mining is a massive employer, particularly in critical parts of New South Wales like the Hunter Valley. You're the lifeblood of regional towns, and you underwrite our tax base with obviously those very appreciated royalty payments. But if we don't seize these opportunities, we acknowledge, and I want to say this as the leader of Australia's largest state, that someone else will take those opportunities. These are global markets. People are looking for capital to deploy, and they can do that in different places around the world. And we want you to know that you can trust New South Wales, and we would humbly ask that it be on the top of your list when you're hunting for places to deploy that capital. Philosophically, we're not a government that wants to stand in the way of initiative or endeavour. These are minerals that the world needs, minerals that we have. We've got everything we need, including you, the people that drive this critical industry. There's no reason New South Wales can't power the next century exactly the same way as it powered the last. Thanks so much. Enjoy your conference and welcome to Sydney.